Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
Today, we are wading into some dense but really important policy material.
Yeah.
It's the new Federal Youth Investment Vehicles, officially known as Trump accounts, created under that massive One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the OBBA, which was signed back in July.
Right.
And we're just going to use the simple acronym TA throughout this dive.
Good idea.
Because these are complex enough. So our mission today, unpack the mechanics, look at what the experts are saying about their effectiveness, and, crucially, understand this massive philanthropic investment that just changed the whole landscape.
And what's so fascinating here is that the idea itself, it's not new.
Right.
Concepts like baby bonds or child development accounts, they've had this surprising level of bipartisan backing for a long time. Economists, they generally agree that helping Americans invest and build wealth from birth is a good thing.
Sure, a worthwhile goal.
But the specific way the TAs were implemented, that's where the questions come in. Questions about complexity and about equity. The intent is great, but the execution, it's messy.
Okay, let's unpack that structural messiness. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a TA?
Well, at its core, it's a brand new type of tax-deferred individual retirement account, an IRA.
So like a retirement account, but for kids.
Exactly. Think of it as a starter investment vehicle. The goal is to give a child a financial foundation the moment they hit adulthood.
And the government kicks things off, right? That's the big draw.
That's the main draw. The core feature is that $1,000 federal seed money. It's a one-time deposit from the government.
But not for everyone.
No, and this is key. The eligibility window is incredibly tight. It's only for U.S. citizen children born between January 4, 2025 and December 31st, 2028.
Wow, so just a 4-year window for that federal $1,000. That is very selective.
It is. And while the kids are automatically enrolled by the IRS, that money doesn't just, magically appear in an account.
You have to claim it.
You have to claim it. A parent or guardian has to go through a qualified financial institution. If a family doesn't engage, doesn't set up the account, that seed money just sits there in limbo.
Which right away points to a potential challenge for, say, low-income families who might not have a relationship with a bank.
A huge challenge.
So beyond that initial $1,000, what are the contribution limits?
The rules are a bit layered. So for after-tax money from family parents, grandparents, the annual limit is $5,000 per child.
Okay, $5,000.
And that'll be indexed for inflation in a couple of years. But this is where the policy gets creative and complicated. It brings employers into the mix.
Tell us about that. The employer contributions are a pretty unique fringe benefit structure.
It really is. Employers can contribute up to $2,500 a year for an employee's child.
And that counts toward the $5,000 limit.
It does, yes. But here's the twist. For the employee, it's a non-taxable fringe benefit. It's not taxed as income, a bit like, certain health savings benefits.
That's a nice incentive for employers to offer it. But it still means you really only hit that $5,000 ceiling if you have a great employer or a wealthy family.
For the most part, yes. But wait, there's an exception to the limit. A big one.
Oh, another layer.
Yes, another layer. Non-taxable entities, so think states, 501c3, charities, even the Treasury Secretary, they can contribute outside of that $5,000 limit.
And they can target specific groups.
Exactly. They could target everyone in a state or kids in a specific low-income ZIP code. It allows for these huge targeted injections of money without hitting that family cap.
Let's talk about the investment side, because the Act is really strict about where this money can go.
Absolutely. The goal is long-term, stable growth, not, speculation.
Right.
So the funds have to be invested in qualified mutual funds that track the S&P 500 or a similar U.S. equity index.
So broad market, passive investing.
Pure passive index tracking. It has to be based on market capitalization.
Wow.
No sector-specific funds allowed.
And what about the fees? That can eat away at a small balance over time.
The OBBA was smart on this. Annual fees are strictly capped at 0.1% of the account balance.
That's extremely low.
It is. It's designed to make sure growth isn't just eroded by costs, which is so important when you're starting with just that initial $1,000.
That fee cap is one of the best parts of the policy, it seems. So, timeline-wise, when can parents actually start signing up?
Sign-ups are expected to begin on July 4, 2026.
Okay.
And they'll be using a new online IRS form, Form 4547. It gives families and the IRS some time to get ready.
Okay, so we've set up the TA. The money is in. Now, the big question for any parent, When can we actually touch this money?
The rules are firm. No withdrawals at all until the child turns 18.
And that's where the comparison to other retirement plans comes in.
Exactly. When the child hits 18, the TA essentially converts into a standard traditional IRA. The rules they follow that structure.
And with a traditional IRA, if you pull money out before retirement age, say 59 and a half, you get hit with taxes and a penalty. Is that true here?
Generally, yes. Any withdrawals on the gains before age 59 and a half are subject to regular income tax plus a 10% penalty.
Ouch.
But, and this is a big but, the government carved out some really crucial penalty-free exceptions that kick in right at age 18.
Okay, tell us about those. What are they trying to fund with these exceptions?
They're trying to fund those big early adulthood financial milestones.
Like college.
Right. Unlimited higher education expenses are penalty-free. You can also use up to $10,000 for a first-time home purchase or for starting a small business or a small farm.
So they're trying to promote asset ownership. But I saw something in the PBS source about getting full access later on.
You did. At age 31, beneficiaries get full access to the funds.
For any reason.
For any purpose, yes. The normal income tax on the gains would still apply, but the 10% penalty goes away, unless, of course, you qualify for an earlier exemption or wait until retirement age.
This sounds incredibly complicated compared to what's already out there. How does a TA stack up against, say, a Roth IRA or a 529 plan?
It's like a hybrid with some major restrictions. It's like a Roth IRA because the contributions are after tax.
Right.
But with a Roth, you can pull your contributions out anytime, tax and penalty free. You can't do that with a TA. It's locked up until 18. Much more restrictive.
And for just saving for college, a 529 seems like a way better deal tax-wise.
Oh, absolutely. If the goal is education, with a 529, the money grows tax-free, and withdrawals for education are also tax-free.
It's a double tax benefit.
It is. TAs only grow tax-deferred. You're still going to pay income tax on the gains when you withdraw them. The 529 is the clear winner for education savings.
Okay, so this complex structure, it brings us to the really staggering difference in outcomes. This just hammers home the equity problem. What are the estimates on the final value of these accounts?
The disparity is it's enormous, and it really defines the whole policy debate. If a family maxes out that $5,000 contribution every year...
Until the kid is 18.
Yes. The account is projected to be worth nearly $1.1 million by the time that kid is 28.
$1.1 million. That's life-changing. Generational wealth.
It is.
So what's on the flip side? A family is too broke to contribute anything beyond that first government check.
If no other contributions are made, just that initial $1,000 seed, the account is estimated to be worth about $18,100 by age 18.
So $1.1 million versus $18,000. That's not just a difference in returns. That's a difference in opportunity in what's possible in life.
Exactly.
It feels like an incredible tool for the wealthy to shelter more money while giving just a modest boost to everyone else.
Precisely. It turns what was meant to be a universal benefit into a highly unequal savings machine. And this, I think, leads us perfectly into the biggest recent development.
It's a game changer.
The game changer. The massive $6.25 billion donation from Michael and Susan Dell.
Right, because this fundamentally alters who even gets seed money in the first place.
It absolutely does. Remember how that federal $1,000 is only for babies born in that tight 2025 to 2028 window?
Yeah.
The Dell gift is philanthropy, stepping in to fix that. It addresses the exclusion of all these slightly older kids who can still benefit.
So what's the size of their contribution per child, and who exactly is it for?
They're providing an additional $250 in seed money per child.
Okay.
And it's targeted specifically at kids aged 10 and under who were born before January 1st, 2025, the ones who missed the federal window entirely.
And they've structured this to target lower and middle income families, right, using geography.
That's the really clever mechanism. To get the Dell gift, the child has to live in a ZIP code where the median income is less than $150,000.
It's a broad but effective way to target it.
It is. And the reach is it's staggering.
What are the projections?
It's projected to reach about 25 million U.S. children, that's nearly 80% of that age group, across 3/4 of all U.S. ZIP codes. It just dramatically expands the program's reach.
And Michael Dell said something about how even modest sums can lead to better outcomes, which it echoes the whole intent of the bill.
It does.
But even with all this good intent and this huge philanthropic boost, analysts have just torn into the structural flaws of the TAs. So let's pivot to those critiques, starting with just how complex the whole system is.
We have to. The main concern, and you hear this from groups like the Tax Foundation, is that TAs just add another confusing layer to an already overcomplicated savings account system.
How many are there already?
The current tax code has at least 11 different tax advantage savings vehicles.
Yeah.
Traditional IRAs, Roths, HSAs, Dells.
And now a 12th.
Now a 12th. And it's one with really specific rules and conversion dates. It's a huge administrative burden for the IRS and Treasury.
And for the taxpayer just trying to figure out where to put their money.
Absolutely. But the deeper, maybe fatal flaw that experts like Michael Sheridan point to is the individual structure of the accounts.
Okay, help us understand that. Why does individual versus pooled matter so much?
It all comes down to cost and viability for the banks. I mean, think about it. If you have millions of individual accounts, each starting with just $1,000.
A bank has a high fixed cost for each one. Record keeping, compliance.
Exactly. And they're legally barred from charging high fees because of that 0.1% cap.
So there's no money in it for them.
None. The low balance plus the fee cap makes managing millions of these tiny TAs, quote, unpalatable for most banks. Yeah. It's too costly to bother. Sheridan said, based on his experience with similar programs, that structuring this as individual accounts at a national scale just won't work.
So if that individual structure is a dead end, what's the alternative that experts want to see?
A pooled system.
Like a 529 plan.
Exactly like a 529, or the Federal Thrift Savings Plan. Instead of a bank dealing with a million tiny accounts, they deal with one massive, centralized pool of money.
Which drastically cuts down on costs.
It makes the whole system efficient and actually attractive to financial administrators.
The current structure seems almost designed to fail if the banks won't even play along. And that brings us back to those really profound equity concerns.
Yes, and the critiques here are twofold. First, there's the progressive critique. Economists like Derek Hamilton and William Darity Jr., they argued against a flat seed money approach from the start.
What did they want instead?
They wanted a progressive structure. The government would invest way more, tens of thousands, maybe up to $60,000 for lower income families, specifically to shrink the wealth gap, not just, perpetuate it.
And the second flaw. This seems like the most devastating one for the poorest families. The interaction with means-tested benefits.
It's a policy trap, a profound, probably unintended consequence.
Explain how that works.
While many low-income families rely on benefits like SNP or housing assistance.
Which are means-tested. They look at your assets.
Right. And if that $1,000 in the TA money a family literally cannot touch for 18 years is counted as an asset.
They could lose the aid they need right now.
That's the danger. They might be forced to choose between food on the table today or an asset that's locked away for more than a decade. It's an untenable choice, and it could push the families who need it most away from the program entirely.
And that's before we even get back to the taxation drawback.
Correct. As a traditional IRA, you pay ordinary income tax on the gains, even for those penalty-free withdrawals for a house or for college.
Which is a huge disadvantage compared to a 529.
A critical distinction. So a lower-income family who manages to build up some capital and then needs it for an emergency that doesn't qualify for an exception, they're going to get taxed on those gains.
So if the TAs are this complicated, structurally flawed, and potentially a trap for low-income families, what's the solution experts are pushing for?
The consensus alternative is something called a universal savings account, or USA.
USA.
The core idea is radical simplification. You replace that whole complicated mix of the 11 existing accounts plus the new TA with a single, streamlined, tax-neutral savings vehicle.
One account to rule them all. What does tax-neutral mean here?
It just means the account would be universally available, and the rules would be simple and clear no matter what you're saving for retirement, education, a down payment.
The benefit being less bureaucracy.
Radically less bureaucracy for both the taxpayer and the government. You spend more time saving, less time trying to navigate the tax code.
That makes a ton of sense. But is there any evidence that this kind of simplification actually works in the real world?
Oh, absolutely. The evidence from other developed countries is remarkable. Canada and the United Kingdom have implemented USAs with incredible success.
And what does that success look like on the ground?
Well, in both countries, over half the adult population uses one. That shows you the accessibility. But what's really telling is that for low-income earners, the balances in their accounts often exceed their annual income.
Wow.
It points to these accounts being a powerful driver of real financial security, mostly just through simplicity and ease of use.
So if we step back and summarize this whole dilemma, we have a bipartisan, noble idea-building assets for kids, backed by a big federal investment and a huge philanthropic boost.
Right.
But it's been implemented through this complex individual account structure that risks administrative failure, might trap low-income families, and seems designed to widen the wealth gap.
Indeed. The core tension of the Trump accounts comes down to contributions. The financial outcome can be $18,000, or it can be over $1 million. And that depends almost entirely on a family's ability to put in that $5,000 every year.
Which raises the big question.
It's the critical question for you, the listener, to consider. Is this structure really incentivizing broad universal saving, or did it just add another complex tax advantage tool that's primarily useful for people who are already wealthy enough to max it out?
That is a fascinating and maybe frustrating place to leave it. It makes you wonder about the whole philosophy of social policy, doesn't it? Should we focus on direct income support for today, or on these complex, long-term asset-building strategies that might only pay off if the structure is perfect? Thank you for diving into this with us.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.